Hello, I'm going to show you how to make a really straightforward marmalade using lemons and Seville oranges. The Seville oranges have a wonderful aroma to them, but the fruit is so bitter you can't eat it as you would an ordinary orange. And they're absolutely ideal for making marmalade. Each piece of fruit is going to be cut in half like this, juiced, and then the shell with its membranes looks like this. All of these membranes and pips are going to be scraped out and reserved for later use like this. The empty shells are then cut into half like this, and then the shreds cut from here using a very sharp knife. The fruit is going to be cooked in 4 pints of water plus the reserved orange juice and lemon juice, and the membranes are going to be tied up in a muslin cloth. This muslin cloth will be, and its enclosed membranes will be added to the marmalade, and they will cook and they will release pectin, which will help in the setting process. So once I've prepared all the fruit, which is not many to go, I'll show you how this is added to the pan and the cooking process starts. Hello again. I'm going to put the juice into the pan, and first I'm going to strain it so that any odd bits and pieces that have come out during the juicing don't end up in the marmalade. I'll put that to one side. All the rinds are going to go into the pan en masse like that, and all the membranes and pips have been tied up in the muslin cloth like this, and make sure it's very tight because you don't want any of the membranes or pips to end up in the final marmalade, and that just goes into the pan like that. To that I will add 4 pints of water, bring it to the boil and simmer it for about 2 hours. You want to simmer it long enough for the fruit to get very tender. You want to be able to squash it on a plate with the back of the spoon, and you don't want it to be any firmer than that. The sugar doesn't get added at this point. You have to wait until the fruit is completely cooked and tender. If you add the sugar any earlier than that, then the rinds won't get any softer, and in fact they'll probably harden up and end up very tough and unpalatable. The marmalade has been brought to the boil and is now simmering away, and we'll leave it on the stove for about 2 hours to allow all the fruit to soften. As you can see, the muslin bag with all its membranes and pips is sitting in the marmalade as well. And the wooden spoon has been used to gauge the depth of the marmalade, and I'm looking for it to evaporate by about 1/4 to 1/3. The fruit is now being cooked and all of the peel is nice and soft. So this is the time when we add the sugar. I've got 4 pounds of sugar here, and if you're a dentist, look away now. And that's all going to be stirred in on a low heat on the oven, on the hob, until it's all dissolved. And here is the muslin bag that had all the pips and the membranes in. Now that's been given a good squeeze into the marmalade to get all that nice sticky pectin into the marmalade, which will help with the set. Now that the sugar has dissolved, I'm bringing the marmalade to a rolling boil, and I'll leave it boil like this for about 15 minutes. And as you can see at the back, there are some utensils and lids in a pan which are being sterilized in boiling water. Well, the marmalade took a little more than 20 minutes of boiling before it actually got to the point where it would actually set. And the usual test for setting point is to actually put some of the marmalade onto a plate, and it should form a jelly like this. So that was done a few times until eventually a little bit in a ramekin gave a nice, reasonably firm jelly. Now the jelly is still kind of soft, but it quite often takes up to 24 hours for the gel to really reach its peak setting. So I've prepared my jars, which have all been sterilized. Lids have been sterilized. This has been sterilized, the funnel. And into the first 3 jars I've put a teaspoon of whiskey, which happens to come from Scotland's smallest distillery. So I'll just show you how we fill the jars, and then that's us just about done. These are 12-ounce jars, because they're quite a convenient size. And just bring it up to the, just at the level of the funnel. And then jars like that. There we go. I'm just going to leave the steam fill that space before I put the lid on very tightly, because I want when it cools to have a good vacuum on there. So I'll just tighten that up now. And we should get at least 8 jars out of this marmalade, and it will set very nicely, and eventually it would set to something like that, which is a good firm set. But I reckon it'll be like that in about 24 hours time. And that's how to make a marmalade. Really easy. Just take a bit of time.